Hi, I'm Callie and welcome to Kapowski Reads, and this is my February TBR. My usual monthly TBR is just books that I want to read at that particular time. I suppose I try and predict mood reading, which doesn't really work for me. But this month I tried to plan my TBR slightly differently, and maybe it'll work for me and maybe it won't, but let's find out. So the first book that I'm hoping to read in February is a classic, because I love a good classic, but I haven't read any for what feels like quite a while. I did read A Christmas Carol in December, but prior to that I hadn't read a classic since, oh actually, November, so it's not really been that long. I just want to read more classics, I suppose. So the classic I'm hoping to read in February is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I have the cutest little cover, kind of shows it. And I'm intending to do this as a buddy read throughout the entire month, which is why I've sort of sectioned off the book. And I'm really excited to be able to read this and talk to other people about it. I have read it before, but I love chatting to people about books that I've read. So I'm really looking forward to that. The next book is a book that I purposely put aside to read in February. I bought it in maybe September or October, and I intended to read it in February because February is Valentine's month. Valentine's month isn't a thing, but Valentine's Day is in February, so reading a romance sort of felt right. And that book is A Glasgow Kiss by Sophie Gravia. And this book is all about a character in their late 20s trying to find love in Glasgow. I lived in Glasgow for 10 years, so I always love reading books that are set somewhere that I know and feel familiar, and I'm hoping that I'm gonna read about some places that maybe I've gone. I haven't really been a sociable person since I left Glasgow, so maybe I'll recognise the pubs and clubs. But I'm sort of hoping, or at least thinking, that this book is gonna be a little reminiscent to, you know, conversations and that I had with my friends when I was in my late 20s, and I think it's going to be a really enjoyable and just a really fun read, I hope. The next book is a book that I feel I've had on my TBR for so long. Every month I do have my TBR, but I also have a pile of books that I make a stack of books, and then I do have my TBR, but then I have some other books that I'm gonna pick from, and this book has been one of the books that I've planned to pick for months and months, and I haven't gotten around to reading it, so I'm gonna try to make time for this book finally. And that book is My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Ottessa Moshbag, which I think is just about a pretty wealthy sort of socialite character deciding that she just wants to take a year out, if you like, and sleep for a year. I have chronic insomnia. I think I would love to sleep for a year. I have heard that this book does not contain likeable characters, so I'm going to go into it not expecting to like any of them, and maybe I will end up liking some of the characters, maybe I won't, but I have heard a lot of really good things about this book, which is why I bought it maybe 6 months ago. And I feel like this book has been doing the rounds on Bookstagram, Booktube for absolutely ages, and yet again I am late to the party, the book reading party. That's not a thing, but once again I am late to find a book that everybody else seems to have read. I'm kind of okay with that, because at least I know I will have people I can talk to about this book, because it feels like everybody has read it before me. Another book that I feel like everybody has read before me is a book that came highly recommended to me in January. I had 5 people recommend this book to me, which doesn't sound like a lot, but considering how different a lot of my friends' reading styles are, 5 people recommending the same book in the same month just felt like fate, that I had to read this book. I have also read another book by this author which I adored, so I'm really looking forward to this because I do love this author's writing style. And I'm gonna maybe struggle to pronounce the title of this, but I'm gonna try. The Panopticon by Jenni Fagan, who also wrote Luckenbooth, which I read last month, read in November, loved it. This book is all about a young girl, only 15, who is on her way to a home for chronic young offenders, and she has some sort of perhaps amnesia. She doesn't remember the events that have led to her going there, and I just think that this is going to be an absolutely brilliant and thought-provoking read, especially seeing as it has come so highly recommended to me. The next book is a reread. I have been wanting to do some rereads for a really long time, and with the exception of my festive rereads, I don't think that I've done a lot of rereading lately, especially not in the last year. I reread some classics and Luckenbooth, but I haven't done a lot of rereading, and I've wanted to reread this book maybe since about November, but I just haven't felt in the right sort of mindset, and for this book I really need to have my brain in a good place. So the next book that I'm hoping to read, or reread even, is The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. I love this book so much. I have two versions of it. I will probably be reading this one because it's a paperback and much easier to read. A nice soft paperback, although this book is absolutely stunning. This has been a favourite book of mine since I first read it, and I know when I first read it because it was the year that 10 Things I Hate About You came out, and I remember watching it and thinking, Kat is just so cool, and she was reading The Bell Jar. So I bought The Bell Jar at W.H. Smith straight after coming out of the cinema, and I read it on the bus home. I think I would have been about 14 and possibly too young to be reading The Bell Jar, but I don't think so. This is a book that I do try to reread regularly. Anyone who isn't aware of what this book is about, this book is about Esther, who is in New York, and she is almost sort of living the dream at the time. She's working for a fashion magazine, going to exciting parties and meeting really exciting people, but she begins to have some mental health issues, and this book is all about her mental health issues and her time in hospital during the 1950s. I absolutely love this book. I don't know what it is about this book, but I am mildly obsessed with reading The Bell Jar. But it is quite a tough read at times, so definitely one to put aside until you're in a good place. The next book is for my Agatha Christie Read Christie 2022 challenge. The theme for February is a book featuring travel and romance, I think. And seeing as the film is coming out in February, the official pick is Death on the Nile, and I love this book. This is one of definitely my top 5 Agatha Christie's. Like I said before, I haven't ranked Agatha Christie books in order from least to most favourite, but if I did, this would definitely be in top 5. I'm not sure if it would be top 3. I'd have to think really hard about that, but it's definitely top 5. And I actually own 3 copies of it. I have it in French, I have a paperback, and I have the gorgeous hardback, which I got for Christmas from my boyfriend in the office Secret Santa that I made him do because we're working from home, and our home is kind of an office, and I wanted to do a Secret Santa. So that's why I have that book. If you have missed the adverts for the new film adaptation of Death on the Nile, this book is all about a death on the Nile. There's a cruise liner going down the Nile filled with all of these different characters, including Poirot, who I love, and they go off and there's lots of sightseeing and drama unfolds. Ultimately there is a murder, and because Poirot is there, he is tasked with finding out who did it. And this book is just so clever. This is a rare Poirot where I do remember I remember who did it, I remember why they did it, but that doesn't take any of the enjoyment away from me rereading this book. I'm so excited to reread this book. I think I'm going to, after I've read it, go and see the film, maybe? It depends how safe that feels. And the last book on my TBR is a book that I have been reading since September. Yeah. I'm not a slow reader. I do read, I think, quite fast, or at least a medium pace, but this is a book that's just been taking me a really long time to get through, and that book is Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyer, which is the final Twilight book. I started reading Twilight in, I think, 2005, maybe 2006, but definitely pretty shortly after it first came out. My sister absolutely loved Twilight and wanted somebody to talk to about the books, so we read them together and we talked about them together. So Twilight holds a little bit of a special place in my heart. So this book came out in 2020 and my sister passed away in 2013, so wasn't around to read this book, but I just thought that I kind of wanted to keep our tradition alive. So I'm finishing the series solo, but it counts for both of us. And I do have a lot of friends who have read this book, so I'm still gonna keep the whole theme of reading it and chatting about it going. At this point I am on page 514, so I've got maybe 250-ish pages left to go, which doesn't feel like a lot. And I don't know why it's taking me so long to get through this book. It's not a bad book, it's just weird because it is just Twilight told from Edward's point of view, and I've read Twilight, so there's like no stakes because I know what happens. I know who gets hurt. I know what happens to all of the main characters. So it's very strange reading this book from a different point of view. I also don't think I remember Edward being so creepy. Or maybe I was just really young and thought it was romantic, but 35-year-old me thinks that he is creepy. But that is what makes this quite fun to read. I think I'm definitely a different person than I was when I read the rest of the series. But I'm very much looking forward to finishing this book and having another series ticked off of my series checklist, although now that I think about it, I don't think I've actually added this to my checklist, so I'm going to add it and then take it off, so it won't really affect the score at all. I try. I'd love to know if you have any books that you're looking forward to reading in February. If you do, post in the comments and I will probably add them to my TBR, which is ever growing. If you've made it to the end of the video, thanks. Feel free to like, and if you want to subscribe, I do post videos every Sunday. Thanks for watching. Wish me luck, please. Bye.